Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we have a steaming pile of from SH Figuarts. And I apologize if I forgot to edit that out, so I'm sorry if I did. If I didn't, then we're all good. This figure makes me more mad than any figure I've ever purchased short of the 3A Master Chief. Here's the thing, this guy was a premium Bandai exclusive, which means if you don't live in Japan, you have very limited options in order to get this guy. Sure, you can import him from various sites, which I highly disrecommend. I don't know if that's a word, but it should be. So it only saves you a little bit of money anyway. So I ordered mine through Big Bad Toy Store. I paid the premium price because they have to buy them and sell them at a profit. They have to pay extra to get them just like we would. So it's basically buying it secondhand. I'm not blaming Big Bad Toy Store. They charged the minimum that they have to charge in order to make a profit. It is a business. It's not their fault that you have to pay more. It's Bandai's for making an exclusive. Bearing in mind that it's an exclusive, that you have to pay more for it, you would expect, you would expect the quality to at least somewhat indicate that you're getting what you pay for. So let's say at minimum, short of being in Japan, you had to pay $80 for this guy. More along the lines of $100 to $110, which is I think what I paid for it. I didn't want to pay that much for it, but I thought it would be worth having in the collection. It's Ultron, what the heck, I'll get it, and hopefully it's good. And it is an abomination of a figure, in almost every single regard. Let's get him off the stand so we can take a closer look at all this goodness. Alright, this guy stands just under 18 centimeters, which makes him just about 7 inches. So yes, he is slightly taller than your average SH Figuarts. However, if you saw the movie, you know that Ultron is kind of a big dude. Let's compare him to the Iron Man from the same movie. Not even a whole head taller. Definitely undersized. Significantly undersized. He should be like an inch taller, I think. Obviously, I didn't get a movie frame out and compare the exact heights, but I'm pretty sure he should be about a head taller than he actually is. And he was all shiny and metallic in the movie. This guy is not. He's almost completely dull metallic gray, with a couple varying shades of gray or gunmetal, but he has no particular luster to him. He also had glowing red spots throughout him in the movie. In this, he's got flat, dull, dark red paint job. Minimal paint job. Totally unimpressive. Let's zoom in a little closer so you can see. So let's look at the torso. Look at that. Look at all that fantastic glowing red in there. It's so not glowing and not vibrant and not bright. Let's look at the face. Nope, still looks like crap. Also, he was fairly expressive in the movie. Sure, at one point his face looked like this, but most of the time he didn't look like he was about to fall asleep. This figure does. Just so bland. As far as accessories go, he has 2 sets of alternate hands, which are both basically the exact same pose. We have 2 open hands to go in addition with these fist hands. That's it. No accessories other than that. So he doesn't even have a blast effect for when he fired the stuff out of his hand or anything like that at all. Nothing. Totally useless. As far as the articulation goes, don't even get me started. Although this is a review, so I have to. Oh man, they did a double ball peg for the head, which is an acceptable way to articulate a head. It's generally the best way, I think, and that's scientifically proven, actually. But this guy, the way they did it, they set the head over the neck so far. Look, he barely even has a chin. You can't really pose it that well. If you do that, it lifts up a gap in the back of the head, and it looks like he's trying to touch his chin to his neck, which is just weird. And he can't really look up too much, and as far as looking side to side, a little bit. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, and here's why. The way they sculpted that is just bad, and then the way they sculpted the head is just bad. There's no place for the articulation to work. It's just not good at all. It's not good. But they decided to spend the time to give us an articulated neck and shoulder area. Why? I don't know. This whole thing moves forward and back, which accomplishes next to nothing. Unless you want him to look like he's got some kind of spine problem, you're not going to want to lean it forward. You're going to want to leave it like that. Pull the head as far forward as you can to make him not look so derpy, and that's about as good as it's going to get. That's as good as it's going to get. We'll get to the arms in a second. The torso has no articulation down here at all. It is all just this diaphragm joint, which I think is I think that's a double ball peg, but it might be a single. I'm not entirely sure. Let me zoom out just a little bit so you can see as I do this. I want you to see this dynamic range of motion. Wow, look at that. He's got so much. He can lean forward not even a quarter of an inch. He can lean back a little bit, but barely. It's just so bad. And then if you lean him back, it gets stuck. You can't move it unless you pull on it and force it. So that's that. And then you can lean him side to side, what, 5 degrees maybe? Almost none. You can kind of rotate it, but I don't know if you guys can hear that. Here, I'll move it by the mic. That noise that you probably just heard was the plastic grinding against itself because they didn't consider the articulation. You can't pose it at all without forcing it and making it snap over other pieces of plastic, which will, if you have it lean too far forward, scratch the paint off. It's just terrible in almost every way. Actually, no, in every way, it's terrible. Let's move on to the legs. We'll get to the arms. I'm not going to forget, I promise. The legs have the hinged ball peg, so you can bring them down for what you would expect is better range of motion. But you see, let's see if I can get zoomed in tight enough for you to see. Yeah, you can. That little thing next to his cod piece, that little silver edge triangle piece kind of sticking down, that still blocks the range of motion significantly. So you can bring it down, but it doesn't really help. You can bring the leg that far forward. So don't expect, focus on the leg, not the hand, camera. Don't expect to pose him very dynamically. Bringing the legs out to the side, even if you bring them all the way down. That's it. Maybe 30 degrees. No, it's probably closer to 45, but it's not great. If you leave them up, it's almost useless, and they're real floppy. Real floppy. No good at all. You have a thigh swivel. Gives you a little bit. That's probably enough, but it's not great. The knee joint is actually acceptable. I will give them that. The knee joint is okay. You get decent range out of it, and it looks pretty good, so no big deal there. And then the ankle joint, you have your hinge, which has very little range. You have a toe hinge, which is fine. The toe hinge is good. And then you can rotate the foot around, and that's pretty good. So you get an ankle rocker for legs that you can't pose very well. And now the crown jewel of this figure, the shoulder articulation, which I'd like to point out on the little sheet of paper that they give you in the package with the figure, it specifically says if you move the hips and shoulders, you could scratch the paint. What? I have to say that when I make a custom because my paint's not as good as factory paint and I have to often sculpt over joints and things. You guys designed this from scratch. And you're telling us we can't pose it because you could scratch the paint? That should never be more than the standard cautionary thing that we all understand. You shouldn't have to tell us specifically, but here's why they did. The shoulders can't really move at all. You can push them in all the way and they look good like that because it's all connected and everything, but you can pop it out just a little bit. You can see just barely, and then you still can barely pose it because this part and this part grind against every other part of his body. Well, not every other part of his body. Every part around here, they all stick out and it's always in the way unless you bring the arm straight back, which is useless. You cannot raise the arm to the side. You cannot rotate the arm barely at all. You can't bring it forward even without having to really force it against other pieces. And just right what I did there, I feel like I scratched off a bunch of paint. I don't know if I actually did. Hopefully not. But it's really terrible. And I had somebody tell me you can tuck this part into here to get better range. I don't see how. It's quite a lot bigger than the part that you're supposed to tuck it into. So I don't see that. And even if you could, you're just going to tear it up if you stick it under there. It's going to grind like crazy. It's just, wow, it's so bad. The elbow has good range, but it's an atrocious design. Let's stick it out this way. It looks okay from the side, and then you realize it's hollow. There's nothing to it but this little weird nubbin. So it looks really bad. And then the wrists are normal. I'll give them that. The wrists have a normal ball hinge. So if you want to get the Ultron figure, don't. You're going to have to pose it in a standard, normal hero pose only. You're going to have to pay a lot of money for it. The sculpt is still not good. He's still kind of narrow in the shoulders for what he should be. He's not big enough. And the Revoltech one, which I'll never buy because I hate their articulation, actually works way better than this one. It's shinier, it has a better sculpt, it has probably better range of motion, even though the particular joints aren't great. It'll have better range. So if you're gonna get one, I don't even have the Revoltech one, and I can tell you it's better than this because every figure I own is better than this figure. Don't buy it. It sucks a bunch. There you go, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And I do have a video up every day, a new video, so make sure you subscribe. And in the meantime, keep collecting.